Hello, family and friends, welcome back. Right, so let's continue chapter 9. MK Naomi. MK Naomi was developed by the Special Operations Division, the SOD, scientists at Fort Detrick, Maryland, under the supervision of the CIA. A reference to the project MK Naomi can be found in the intelligence community by Fain et al. Boca, 1977. Lieutenant, Lieutenant, Lieutenant Colonel James Lieutenant Colonel James Bo Gritz was a member of the Special Operations Division of the Department of Defense, the commander of the U.S. Special Forces in Latin America, the principal agent for the National Security Council's Super Secret Intelligence Support Activity, the ISA, Super Secret Intelligence Support Activity, which hatched the illegal groups known as Yellow Fruit and Sea Spray. And the Congressional Relations Chief for the Pentagon, Lieutenant Colonel Gritz, claims he didn't know any of the illegalities in the military or in government unit he was told by a drug lord in a third world. See what I said yesterday about how the agencies come in and start hiring nefarious characters, and then they supply low lives with money, drugs and alcohol, put weapons in their hands. Now, normal adults know this is wrong. What's going to happen? That's why you get the child soldiers and everything. Young men with no jobs. And then once they're up and running, their blood is up. They're all horny, alcohol, drugs, and then all the raping starts and everything. This guy, Lieutenant Colonel Gritz, had to be told by a drug lord in a third world nation about what was really happening. Now, Bill goes on to say, I'm sorry, but I'm not that easily duped. He's like, I recommend we support his efforts as long as his efforts help us. I also recommend that we watch him very carefully. There's a slim chance that Gritz is legitimate, but I would not put my life in his hands. So obviously at this time when all this was coming out, he's watching closely, and this guy was probably being questioned by Congress or whatever. I don't know, I was just I was a kid at this time. These things don't hit the mainstream. But obviously, Bill was watching. He was paying attention throughout the 80s. He was writing this book in the late 80s. I would not put my life in his hands. So obviously he doesn't trust that these guys, they're saying, oh, well, I didn't know. Plausible denial. You see, they can always, oh, I didn't know, sorry. Oh, this was a mistake. Inquiry. Lowell Sumner expressed his view as a biologist: the human population explosion and its declining spiral of natural resources is to me the greatest threat of all. The time is ripe, even dangerously overripe, as far as the population control problem is concerned. We shall have to face up or untimely perish. Sorry, we shall have to face up or ultimately perish. And what a dreary, stupid, unlovely way to perish on a ruined globe, stripped of its primeval beauty. Many other population controls have been promulgated. The reduction of the world's population to workable levels has been virtually assured. It is only a matter of time. The problem will be to curtail further human reproduction beyond approved levels. To handle that problem, the New World Order will adopt the communist Chinese model population control. It is the only population control program that has ever worked. The old and infirm have been periodically murdered, and couples are forbidden to have more than one child. Now, I don't know. Who knows what's going on in China? You see, other parts of the world we don't know about, you know, because of propaganda wars and being enemies and spies and hacking and all this stuff. Have we ever had the truth? You know? Have we ever had the truth? This is why the truth really doesn't matter to these people. It really doesn't matter. Which is why they're just, the waters are muddy now. Completely muddy, because they understand that people don't believe, people are starting to unravel history and not believe anymore, and then they can't get away with it. So now it's just like a wicked retaliation. It's like, if you don't believe in our truth, you ain't gonna get no truth at all. Now, from what I've seen of China, is that they take care of their elderly. But we do know about the one child rule. And couples are forbidden to have more than one child. Penalties are so severe that families in China with 2 children are extremely rare. 3 children families are non-existent. The 2-child benefit cap. And see, slowly, little by little, a surprising byproduct is that Chinese children as a group are treated better than any other national grouping of children in the world, including the United States. Tobacco fields in the US have been fertilized. Wait, let me just say before I get onto this section. You see how I spoke about this this problem with the birth rates. You see, you have certain countries with loads of citizens. They got the numbers, the sheer numbers. And then over here in the West, you got people who don't want to join the military, plus the decline in birth rates. So, you know, they don't really have the numbers. So they're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. This is why I keep saying their plans, whatever they're doing, it keeps backfiring. It keeps backfiring. Constantly between a rock and a hard place. This is all down to the Most High. And then now you get all the propaganda push for other ethnicities to join the army. Now you see over here in the UK, they're starting to come out with all these programs and documentaries talking up and glorifying the military, SAS heroes and stuff like that. No, people don't want to go and get their legs blown off for these guys. I'm sorry. You gave us the movies, we've seen the truth, we know the reality. This ain't the 1940s anymore, this ain't the 50s anymore. You can't glorify war. We don't have grandfathers and fathers who are war heroes to come home and tell us stories, great stories, sat on the knee by the fire. and say it will make a man of you and blah, blah, blah. Back then they didn't know that all of this was just greed and power and control. But we know now. We're living in the age of information. Right. Speaking of the age of information, tobacco fields in the US have been fertilized with the radioactive tailings from uranium mines. Tobacco fields in the US have been fertilized with the radioactive tailings from uranium mines, resulting in a tremendous increase in the incidence of lip, mouth, throat, and lung cancer. If you do not believe it, just look at the incidence of lung cancer per capita before 1950 and compare it to the lung cancer per capita at the present time. Are those who smoke committing suicide, or are they being murdered? Malathion, a nerve gas developed by the Nazis during World War II to kill people, is being sprayed heavily on the population centers in California. See, Operation Paperclip. Nuremberg, but you know, the evil geniuses, what, migrated, employed, housed, given jobs. And we want to know your knowledge. We want to know what you know. How did you do this? What did you do? Do it for us now. We'll take care of your family, blah, blah, blah. We'll do this and do that. But we were led to believe that they all went through Nuremberg trials and they were killed and blah, blah, blah. And they point to Operation Paperclip in the movies. Captain America. And we just think, oh, this is all just fantasy. And you find out, no, this is actually real. The truth is in the movies. The lies are in the news. The excuse used is that it will kill. Malathion, the nerve gas developed by Nazis in World War to kill people, is being sprayed heavily on the population centers in California. The excuse used is that it will kill the Mediterranean fruit fly. The tip-off is that the orchards are not being sprayed, only people. The helicopters came from Evergreen in Arizona, a known government and suspected CIA base. The pilots are contract pilots furnished by Evergreen. Evergreen has been named as one of the bases where drugs are flown in from Central America. Made in America, Tom Cruise. Oh man. The city of Pasadena passed a law making it illegal to spray malathion within the city limits. The law was ignored and the city took no action when the people of California literally revolted against the spraying of malathion. The governor of California stated that he did not have the power to stop the operation. What higher power is there that could prevent a governor of state from halting the spraying of an insecticide? So they're literally telling you, he's saying, oh, I don't have the power to do this. So who does have the power? We gave you the power and you're telling me you don't have the power. It's just proving to you that these guys are just puppets. They don't really make any decisions. If something's going to happen, it's going to happen. And there's nothing you can do about it. Their job is to gaslight the hell out of you and to cover up and say, look here, look there. A warning was issued to cover up automobiles and belongings because malathion could destroy paint, some plastics and other property. People, they said, would not be injured. This is a lie. Heart disease used to be a very rare illness. Now it's an epidemic. Go look at the statistics. I do not know what is causing this, but 80 years ago, people consumed more salt, fat, cholesterol, and everything else that heart disease is blamed on. But the disease was rare. Why is it now one of the leading killers? You got to ask these questions. Look, a couple of years back, athletes, the fittest people in the world, the most healthiest people, just dropping like flies. Their hearts just giving out. No explanation, nothing. It's just and then the media starts with all the heart disease commercials, and they start with all the brainwashing. They start hammering things into the brain through the idiot box. And then everyone's just like nodding along. You know, yeah, it must be this, it must be that, and it's just come from nowhere. The fittest people in the world just dropping like flies. In the state of Colorado and elsewhere, dioxin is turning up in the drinking water in alarming levels. It should not be present in any amount. Where is it coming from? Dioxin is one of the deadliest chemicals known to man. Colorado citizens attempting to do battle against the dioxin contamination are met with closed doors, denial, and attacks on their characters. We have watched the news in horror as story after story unfolded, revealing that the army and the CIA had released germs and viruses into the population to test the biological warfare capability. In light of what you, Agent Orange comes to mind, in light of what you have learned in this chapter, you should know what it was really. You should know it was really to reduce population. So it's not testing biological warfare. They've already know that it works, but they use it to reduce the population. In the matter of public record, that investigations into cover-ups of radioactive leaks, it is. Let me start again here, because this is good. It is a matter of public record that investigations into cover-ups of radioactive leaks into the atmosphere and into the groundwater have revealed that some leaks were not accidental but were purposeful. Some areas of the country now have a high rate of cancer that virtually everyone who lives in these areas will die other than a natural death. The true extent of radioactive gases, waste and toxic material, especially cesium-137, strontium-90, uranium-9 and meal tailings, thorium-230, radium-226 and radon-222 that have leaked or have been purposely planted in the atmosphere, soil and groundwater is far beyond anything you or I can imagine. Every investigation has revealed that the true figures regarding radioactive leaks are much larger than official figures, and the real numbers may never be known. Cover-up has become standard ops at all levels in all departments of government. Do we dream reality, or is reality a dream? Now, if you've been paying attention, if you've been in the community, if you've been watching, remember just a couple of years back, the train derailments, the train crashes, and the radioactive substances all over the States. But you know, the next event and the next event and the next event and all the gossip and scandal and exposure and this story and that story and this and that, it makes it just float away from your mind. Float out of your memory. According to Dr. Eva Schneid, the San Francisco Bay Area has one of the highest cancer rates in the world. The San Francisco Bay Area has been revealed as one of the primary test locations of the Central Intelligence Agency's biological and chemical weapon programs. You see, immediately when you're reading this, and they say San Francisco Bay Area, Central Intelligence test locations for the CIA biological weapons programs, and immediately what comes into your mind? San Francisco test locations, CIA. San Francisco. And it just triggers certain things. It's coming. You may recall that Legionnaire's disease was an experimental bacteria released into the wind on the San Francisco Bay Area from a government-operated boat. San Francisco is also one of the 6 known inoculation sites for the CIA project MK Naomi AIDS. The Bay Area was the headquarters for Dr. Timothy Leary, who introduced the drug culture to American youth under CIA project MK Ultra. It is suspected that the San Francisco Bay Area was subjected to large doses of radiation to test the effects on the population over a prolonged period of time. Why do they hate San Francisco? The answer is that the largest homosexual population in America lives in San Francisco, and they have been targeted for extermination. When you're reading these things and you hear these things and you see these things on news, your mind just clicks and it just puts 2 and 2 together. Like, the more you know, the more you see. And you see, they encourage these people, they encourage these guys, the whole LGBT things, and then they pander to them. Oh, we love you, blah blah blah. It's great. No, you deserve to be in society, and this is when really these people are being set up. It's wicked, man. It's truly wicked. A little bit of good to cover up a whole mountain of wickedness. So that you never think, you will never think these people are being targeted, because the television is doing its job. Encouraging. Getting your children used to it and into it and everything. It is suspected that San Francisco Bay, targeted for extermination. A reason for the New World Order, or rationalization, as the case may be, is the very real possibility that some terrorist will set off a global nuclear war by detonating an atomic bomb to make a political point. A reason for the New World Order, or rationalization, as the case may be, is the very real possibility that some terrorist will set off a global nuclear war by detonating an atomic bomb to make a political point. You see, that's where the questions come. Like, if these are just ragtag rebels and like just some terrorist who's been listening to, extremist views online, it's like, how the hell does he get this kind of weaponry? How does he get an atomic bomb? And then they start to say, oh, drug lords and this, that, and where do they get the money from? But all you got to do is you either go back or you wait a couple of years, decades later, and then you find out they're all connected to governments somewhere. Somewhere along the line, the government was involved. They knew these people. They connected. Same with like Hamas. Like, you go back far enough and you find out Hamas and Israel are like hand in hand. It's like Hamas are like mercenaries for Israel. It's just so frustrating. And that's why it's just, yeah, I've had enough. Like, you just say, oh, you know, I'm done, man. This is so stupid. This is so dumb. A reason for the New World Order, or rationalization as the case may be, is the very real possibility that some terrorist will set off a global nuclear war by detonating an atomic bomb to make a political point. I believe that it is safe to say that any large-scale exchange of atomic or hydrogen weapons will result in the complete destruction of civilization and could precipitate the escalation of the onslaught of an ice age. The obvious conclusion would be that any kind of compromise leading to coexistence is better than any of nuclear exchange. In other words, better red than dead. This is exactly what the hierarchy has decided. Only the New World Order will not be red. It will be fascist. It will, in fact, be a socialist, totalitarian state. Now, Bill, he's a believer. But as I can see, if this man would have been brilliant if he had read the Bible. He was probably more of a listener, more of a churchgoer than a reader of the Bible, because he would have had such understanding. And you see, that lack of knowledge, Bible knowledge, it leads you down this road to thinking, oh, maybe the New World Order's good. Oh, it's better to this way. It leads you to thinking, that's how you, this is what the way we're telling true believers now. Destruction of civilization and an onslaught of an ice age. But if he knew the book, he would realize where this is all leading to and where this is all going and how it's falling into prophecy. You know, he didn't have sound Israelite doctrine. But, you know, he was there for us now. You know, many Israelites know about this guy. We know about this book. Many conspiracy theorists know about this book. Many patriots know about this book. A few Christians know about this book. It is hoped that a natural metamorphosis will eventually occur. The Illuminati hope that it will result in a paradigm shift of the evolutionary consciousness of man. Dangerous words. A paradigm shift in the evolutionary consciousness of man. This could cause the formation of a state where no government is needed, where anarchy is not to be feared. They dream that the end result will be the world that Christ taught, but that the Christian religion prevents. This could cause the formation of a state where no government is needed, where anarchy is not to be feared. The amount of scriptures, like the words of Christ, are just spilling. The love of many will wax cold. The kids will not respect their parents. putting sweet for bitter and bitter for sweet, and you know. They dreamt that the end result will be the world that Christ taught, but the Christian religion prevents. It is ironic that the Illuminati actually believe that this can evolve from a plan built of such suffering. This is sick. This is really sick now. Okay. And okay. Believe that this can evolve from a plan built on such suffering. It is ironic that the Illuminati actually believe that this can evolve from a plan built on such suffering. Now, I have to move. I have to go back to Exterminate All the Brutes now after that. I have to read something from that book, and then I have to finally move on to Jeremiah, because we've taken a long pit stop. Not even a pit stop. We found a motel and we stayed the weekend. We're supposed to be on this journey through the prophets, and I've taken too long to move on to Jeremiah. But and, oh gosh, but remember this for my next video. It is ironic that the Illuminati actually believe that this can evolve from a plan built on such suffering. Order through chaos. Very familiar in this conspiracy community. Christ suffered, if the New Testament is true, to bring about this world, and if he suffered, maybe it is necessary that we also suffer. I am not wise enough to know the answer. You see, it is kind of, evil genius is like, oh man. You see, these people really do believe they're the right hand of God. They really do think they are the elect. They really do think that they're supposed to do this thing. And it just leaves you just thinking. And to be honest, family and friends, I've been considering of just maybe, it's been going on for a while now, just shutting down this channel, because basically I've said a lot, and I think my testimony is coming to an end, and I've said all I've pretty much want to say. Plus, I want to move into I'm supposed to refocus and move into a new direction, but I enjoy doing this. I like it, man, and there's so much more to say, and there's always something to bring out. But I just get this deep feeling just to sit back and watch now until it gets real, until it gets really real. I don't know. But, and maybe also I'm just feeling sometimes that I've taken a lot on board, and it's just an overload, and it's getting, there's so much to just pour out, and maybe I just need to let it sink in a bit more. And I'm facing like a lot of adversity and warfare, and I need to get back into a certain routine where I was in a position of strength and focus. It's like sometimes, family, use those of you who do this, do you ever get that hesitation before coming on, before, you know, setting up and pressing record? Do you ever get things that just spring up which kind of puts you off? It's like last night I couldn't sleep, so I had to sleep at 8 o'clock in the morning. It took almost 6 hours to upload the last video. And then that led for me to being all groggy in the morning. I thought I'd catch a little power nap, and that led me sleeping for 4 hours. Which led me to doing this video a bit later than the time I should, and I don't know, but I've been considering a lot of stuff. You know, I'm just a man. I have tantrums as well, you know, and it's like, and then you get confirmation. You know you're supposed to do something, and you don't really want to do it, and you're comfortable here, and you don't understand really what you're supposed to do, and then the confirmation comes, and it's, oh man, it's a lot. It's a lot. I have days where I'm on the floor, literally on the floor. Grieved by this whole thing. But you can't let those days last. You can't sulk for too much, for too long. Maybe a day every couple of months. It's not easy, man. This thing ain't easy. Yeah, Ephesians 6:12 stuff, right? You have to, sometimes you have to live things to understand certain scriptures. You have to be living it. Right, where was I? Sorry, I just got sidetracked there. Yeah, okay. It is ironic that the Illuminati actually believe that this can evolve from a plan built on such suffering. Christ suffered, if the New Testament is true, to bring about this world, to bring about his world, and if he suffered, maybe it is necessary that we also suffer. I'm not wise enough to know the answer. All intellectuals, rulers, and governing bodies agree that population is the biggest threat to civilization that we know of today. It does not matter what you believe. If they believe it, you will be affected because they have the power. But why should they get to decide? What, just because they're rich? This is one thing I learned from growing up and realizing, because as we were young, we had idols and heroes and stuff. And even in over the years, like working in hospitality in 5-star hotels and stuff, meeting certain people, it's like now seeing the world, seeing as it really is, seeing the world totally differently through reading the book, plus the world going through hard times and realizing certain things, especially how 2020 really opened up our eyes. I don't care how famous you are, I don't care how rich you are, how important you are, how educated you are. Who are you as a person? Who are you as a person? Do you get to decide who lives or dies? Why is it more important for you to live and we don't? Oh, because we have this and we have that and we have this and blah 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 and we know this and I've made something of myself and I contributed this and I contributed that. This is why I think I know I made my peace with it and I understand it. Going back to basics, back to horse and cart and an honest day's labour. That's what I think the kingdom is about. Tearing it all down, the work of our hands, that's what's taken us away from what life is really about. The technology, the entertainment, the toys and everything. Back to basics. Going to draw water. You read Ezekiel 38 carefully. And that's how I came to the conclusion. We're going back to basics. We are going back to basics. Because look where all this knowledge and the hidden mysteries and all this has led us. Where's it led us to? No, don't get me wrong, I'm going to miss the entertainment too. But I get it. I get it. And it goes to your mindset. When you hear comments like, oh, so why is Africa so underdeveloped? If you look at other countries, how they've managed to progress and Africa is still underdeveloped. And when I was a numbskull, you know, that stuff like that used to get to me, it used to hurt me, especially with the whole slavery thing. Your history starts with slavery. And you guys were nothing but slaves and you were swinging from trees and half naked and all that business. And it just used to sit there and get to me. And it just makes you think, oh yeah, maybe we're not as good as the other races and stuff like that. And it's just all nonsense. It's all mental gymnastics. And it really, it's got to stop. It's got to end. And it's made me realize these things with like reading the Bible, seeing history, seeing how the world is today. If you don't believe these people will try and kill us all, they're trying to contain humanity or take us back to 500 million and start again. If you don't believe that, then all this talk of growth, without killing everybody, leaves us to when I referenced that planet in Star Wars, which is a whole city. The whole planet is city. Not a tree in sight, not an animal in sight, not an open field in sight. So now realizing what life's really about, you know, and reading this Bible and seeing life and the world differently. It's like, what do you mean underdeveloped? Is it underdeveloped or is it preserved? You know, forests, jungles, open plains, beautiful wildlife and animals, lakes, streams, waterfalls, mountains. Or the rat race and the concrete jungle. Pause and calmly think about that. The New World Order will eliminate the population threat in several ways. Complete control of individual behavior may be established using electronic or chemical implants. The New World Order will eliminate the population threat in several ways. Complete control of individual behavior may be established using electronic or chemical implants. Electronic, Severance. That TV show is incredibly disturbing and it's triggered some things inside me, made me so angry. So angry. Miss Corbell, I've got one of those. Severance. Really disturbing stuff. Or chemical implants. Equilibrium. You know, I was shocked to find out, you know, these blockbuster movies from our, you know, the days of our youthful exploits, shall I say. These movies like Equilibrium and Minority Report, I'm shocked to see that people just 10 years younger than us, they don't even know about these movies. You know, these science fiction blockbusters which we grew up on. This is what makes our generation special. It makes us be able to see it, to be able to see where we're going, to recognize what's happening. We really are living in science fiction. And I was shocked. Like, how have you not seen these movies? The New World Order will eliminate the population threat in several ways. Complete control of individual behavior may be established using electronic or chemical implants. Equilibrium, man. It's equilibrium stuff. Sense offenders. He's a sense offender. Oh, he's feeling. Oh, he's reading. He's creating. He's asking questions. She's critically thinking. He's a sense offender. This is where we're going, family. This is where we're going. Eventually, if this is why the Most High says these days will be made short, because nobody's gonna survive, bro, because it's gonna start, because people will be getting executed for not taking this mark. So that's why it's gonna be so short. Otherwise, nobody's gonna survive, because the long term, the way it gets worse and worse, and people had this thing, oh, well, if you're not doing nothing wrong, then you got nothing to worry about. But it'll get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse until you get to that state where you're a sense offender, you're thinking, you're reading, you're doing critical research, you're critically thinking. And to the point where anti-government rhetoric will be considered terrorist, extreme views, and then you'll be labeled a terrorist. No one will be allowed to have a child without permission. It's coming. Stiff penalties But at the moment, like I said, at the moment, they just crush your life so you can't even afford to have a child. And plus, they got you, oh, take this, take that, take this, take that. You know? This thing, it may have a dual purpose. It is curing or preventing, immunizing you from something, but it's also sterilizing you. No one will be able to have a child without permission. Stiff penalties wait for those who ignore the law. The violent, the old, the infirm, the handicapped, and the unproductive will be killed. Private property will be abolished. You will own nothing and you will be happy. Since religion helped to create the population problem, it will not be tolerated except for the approved state-controlled religion that will evolve according to man's needs. Coexistence. And I really do think Christianity will be tolerated to a certain extent. It's people who want to go Torah, people who are all in, people who are living their lives according to Bible ways. That's what's not going to be tolerated. But this Christianity thing, that's going to be all in the coexistence thing. It will not be tolerated except for approved state-controlled religion which will evolve according to man's needs. You can see Christianity is already doing that already, with the exception of this, the exception of that, and blah, blah, blah. Inviting, oh, everybody's welcome and everything. Like, look, if the shoe doesn't fit, don't wear it. If you're a Christian who's all in, fair enough. But that's why us Hebrews, believers, we don't really use that word anymore, because we use it to describe an exact certain type. The lukewarms. Those who really aren't in it. Those who are just performing and going through the motions. And they're clearly identified by actually not reading the book, and they're actually still in the world. And sorry, let me crack on and finish up because time is running. According to man's needs. Joseph Campbell explains this concept excellently in his series with Bill Moyers called The Power of Myth. The Power of Myth. Cash will appear. Sorry. Joseph Campbell explains this concept excellently in his series with Bill Moyers called The Power of Myth. Cash will disappear, and with it, most crime will also disappear, but total control of each individual will be the price we pay. Total control of individuals. Humankind cannot be trusted to safeguard what little is left in the way of natural resources. You see, another part of the world got to drain it, they got to get rich, and now other countries are exploring, they're discovering, they want to use it. It's like, no, at this point in time, we have to share it for everybody. They know that's not possible. So now these privileged, entitled people They plan to get rid of us for us. They don't want to shut down multi-trillion-dollar industries. Humankind cannot be trusted to safeguard what little is left in the way of natural resources. Technological development and economic growth will be severely cut back. You see, this is why I keep saying they're not going to do this, because this is where their millions and billions is. So the answer is they're going to kill millions of us. It's not what you want to hear. But can you see them stopping oil, stopping gas, stopping coal? Can you see them? They're already talking about accelerating technological development and economic growth. That's all you hear these days. It will be severely cut back. No. Humankind will be required to live like its ancestors. Those who learn to be self-sufficient can adapt to the absence of many of these things that we take for granted today, such as automobiles, will get along fine. See people complaining about parking fines and stuff. They're slowly, little by little. And making money at the same time. You park here, fined. You speed, fined. MOT, road tax, this, that, blah, blah, blah. Plus with the cost of living, okay, you give up your car. You lose less. You use less. They feel comfortable about keep using the amount that they use. And they use ridiculous amounts. If you can afford to destroy the planet, go ahead. Those who learn to be self-sufficient and can adapt to the absence of many things that we take for granted today, such as automobiles, will get along fine. Others will suffer terribly. The middle class. Perhaps people will once again conform to the law of the survival of the fittest. That's not good. That's not good. That's why we're told to come out of Babylon. Come out. Put all the cares of the world behind you. Because this is how they're going to get you to take this thing. This is how you're going to lose your humanity. This is how you're going to lose your compassion. To try and keep hold of that lifestyle that you had. And you won't care about others who are drowning, who are starving. And it's just going to be like just total selfishness, backstabbing everywhere, sabotaging each other, betrayal, survival of the fittest. No one is going to like the loss of individual freedoms guaranteed us by the Constitution of the Bill of Rights, especially Americans, especially Europeans. I do not like or agree with what is planned. Intellectually, I know that people will not solve the problems that we face unless we are made to do it. You see, living by the Bible and living these ways would have kept us from this in the first place. But no, the greed, the vanity, the power, the covetousness, and so on and so on and so on. I know that people will not solve the problems that we face unless we are made to do it. This is a sad commentary on the common man, but nevertheless it is true. The New World Order is evil, but very much needed if man is to survive long enough to plant his seed among the stars. For those of us who read Bible, that's just is it Obadiah or Joel 3? I think it's mentioned. Oh, the good book. To plant his seeds among a paradigm shift and starseed are the only legitimate long-term answers. Occupy Mars. So what? We would us? Why do we have the right to go into another planet, colonize it, and then start all over again and do exactly the same thing? Why do we have the right to do that? This is why we have all been so wrong for so long. It was never what we thought it was. Nothing is nor or ever will be until we learn to live in reality instead of fantasy land. A paradigm shift in the evolutionary consciousness of humankind must take place. Right or wrong, the world is covered with agents of the Illuminati who are attempting to cause that evolutionary jump. Right or wrong, the world is covered with agents of the Illuminati who are attempting to cause that evolutionary jump. We have not been taken into their confidence. As you learned in chapter 1, we have been judged too stupid to understand. It is true that without the population or bomb problem, the elect would use some other excuse to bring about the New World Order. It doesn't matter what. They want this thing. They will use any excuse. Any excuse. They have plans to bring about things like earthquakes, war, the Messiah, an extraterrestrial landing, and economic collapse. They might bring about all these things just to make damn sure that it does work. They do whatever is necessary to succeed. The Illuminati has all the bases covered, and you are going to have to be on your toes to make it through the coming years. We on our toes, Uncle Bill. We on our toes. According to plans, many people are going to die between now and the year 2000. But if these plans are not successful, the human race could become extinct. It's man who's going to do it. Even if there was just a huge population, nature will find a way to just reduce it. You know, the Most High has his ways. And it's the science and the knowledge which has taken us to this point of overpopulation. You see, it just constantly meddling, trying to find ways, and they just make it worse, make it worse, make it worse. And the Most High's just sat back waiting for the human race to just realize his book is the truth. and this is the way. But we never learn. We want to ignore it. We want to bury our heads in the sand. We want to rebel. We don't want it. We don't want it. So it's just waiting and waiting and waiting until these wicked people unleash on us. And then we can be crying out. Crying, 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 crying. Oh, now you're ready for me. Now you want me. Now you're looking towards me. Okay, let me show you. Nothing on earth can change this except a tremendous reduction and stabilization of the population. Without starseed, this reduction and stabilization would only delay the inevitable. As eventually, all raw materials will be completely depleted. A never-ending source of free energy will then be needed. That may be possible, but is unlikely to solve the problem. Back to basics, you know. As eventually all raw materials will be completely depleted. Raw materials, look. We put seeds in the earth, they grow food. We let animals breed, we can eat them. Trees grow, we cut them down for fire, for warmth. Plants grow for medicine. The trees also help us build houses and furniture. We have what we need. It's us who made it complicated. Man in his quest for knowledge and advance and technological, the work of our hands. A never-ending source of free energy would be the problem. Without some central common need that would bind man together, a source of free energy would most likely result in total anarchy. So you see, what was needed in the beginning is still needed in the end. A paradigm shift in the evolutionary consciousness of man, coupled with starseed, is the most logical answer for the human race. Paradigm shift in the evolutionary consciousness of man, coupled with starseed. It did that, you know. That sounds like Musk, man. Sounds like Musk. Merging man with computer, and then we go and conquer space, and it's just. We must learn to accept it's those crazy, what do you call them? Transhumanists. That rhetoric I'm seeing creep in, but like I said, this was 35 years ago. Like, I don't know, man. If only this man was alive today, I think his views would be very, 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 very different, and I think he would be able to see what all this is leading to. We must learn to accept individual responsibility for the world's problems, or be willing to live by the terms of those who do. It doesn't matter that these people were in charge, you know. And other people, they're tempted by, they got dollar signs in their eye, they got pound signs in their eyes, they got euros in their eyes. They have yen, rubles in their eyes, and rupees. You know, they don't care. Taking responsibility, like, doesn't matter. It's them that they're in charge. And this is what people give them their consent by the promise of, you see, totally bringing everything down, the economy and everything, and everyone the lack of jobs and everything, and then promising to bring it up by letting them continue their plans. It's just wickedness, man. It's just... We need to stop now. We must learn to accept individual responsibility for the world's problems. I mean, we've had this conversation for how long? Like, since I was a child, I've heard this kind of rhetoric. I've heard these promises. They've always known. And they did nothing. We must learn to accept individual responsibility for the world's problem, or willing to live by the terms of those who do. We must learn to love one another, share. Oh, man. I mean, it's right. Yes, we do, but that's not going to happen. Share. Share. When there's people who are richer than countries. And then on the other end, there's people who are sending their kids to school without breakfast. We must learn to love one another, share, deplore violence, and work with nature, not against it. We must do all of this while colonizing the universe. My next video. We must be prepared in the process to peacefully meet and deal with an extraterrestrial intelligence. I believe they exist. As in the days of Noah, like, see, he's seen some stuff he can't explain. He's read some documents he can't explain. But you know, aliens, instead of these kind of technologies which we don't know of, we don't know exist, DNA splicing and all kinds of stuff, hidden technologies. Can you imagine what will happen if Los Angeles is hit with a 9.0 quake? New York City is destroyed by a terrorist planted bomb, atomic bomb. World War III breaks out in the Middle East. The banks and the stock markets collapse. Extraterrestrials land on the White House lawn. Food disappears from the markets. Some people disappear, and the Messiah presents himself to the world. Let no man deceive you. All in a very short period of time. Can you imagine? The world power structure can and will, if necessary, make some or all of these things happen to bring about the New World Order. Patriots must not be at home on any national holiday during the day or night ever again until the danger is past. Regarding this warning, and you disregard this warning, and you will find yourself in a concentration camp. Patriots must not be at home or on any national holiday. Now, me working in hotels for 12 years, I would, after reading this book, I started to notice it. Every time there was a national holiday in America, there was an uptake. And it was a certain type of American. And then having certain conversations with some people. In the camp, you will be treated for a mental illness called nationalism, common to patriots. This illness is not in the interest of the New World Order. How many times? This is why I say the far right are being set up to fail. It doesn't matter in which way. You're being set up to fail. There are no more good guys and bad guys. There are no more countries, borders, no more races. It's just business. They're drawing you out, drawing you out, drawing you out, drawing out the Hebrews, drawing out the conspiracy theorists, drawing out the homosexuals, drawing out the transgenders, drawing out the patriots and nationalists. Because you can easily just be, you're on the list. Now, do you understand what's going on in social media? But what does the book say? Do not fear, do not be fearful. Do not be fearful, because the fearful will take part in the lake of fire. We are supposed to stand in this day and age. In the camp, you will be treated for a mental illness called nationalism, common to patriots. This illness will not be in the interest of the New World Order. Those who cannot be cured will be exterminated. When asked what was in store for the world in the coming decade, Henry Kissinger said this: everything is going to be different. Many will suffer. A new world order will emerge. It will be a much better world for those who survive. In the long run, life will be better. The world we have wanted will be reality. And then it goes on, lessons from Lithuania, chapter 10. Very important chapter, very interesting. Very interesting. Man. I'm left speechless now. I don't know what to say. As you can see, screaming from the rooftops 30 years ago, for a long time, and trying to tell us we can see it all folding, all unfolding. You know, patriots, nationalists, racists, you all have your use. They will use you. They will use you until they don't need you no more. It's a battle for your minds, guys. Rockets, moonshots, spend it on the have-nots. Money, we make it. Before we see it, you take it. Oh, makes me wanna holler the way you do my life. Makes me wanna holler the way you do my life. This ain't living. This ain't living.